Cassie here. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be doing a critical reading of one of my old stories. So yeah. If all goes well, at the beginning of next month I'm going to be starting my series on doing a critical reading of a book. I'm probably, if my library has it available, I'm going to be doing the second book in the To All the Boys I've Loved Before series, because I've read the first one and I know that it's kind of the level of story that I'm looking for these critical readings, where it's like not total utter garbage, but it's also like not very good in my opinion. It has a lot of flaws, enough so that I'll have something interesting to talk about. But anyway, I thought it might be fun to kick off that series by doing a critical reading of some of my own work, so that I'm not just criticizing other people's stuff, because I'm no Jane Austen myself. You can't. I'll cut that part out. So today we are going to be reading a short story I wrote when I was 15. It's called Finding My Fairy Tale, and I wrote this story for a writing contest, and I actually ended up winning first place in the contest. So this story, part of the reward of winning first place was that my story was published on an online magazine called Parent Magazine. I'm not really sure how online magazines work, like if you can see backdated stuff from years ago, because this was obviously many years ago. It was about 10 years ago. I'm 25 now and I was 15 then, so 10 years. So I don't know if you could still find it there, but it was published in the magazine, which was super cool. This was the first thing I ever got published, which was really exciting. There was also a local author there who was one of the judges. His name is Charlie Price, and he read my story out loud, which is something I usually despise. I can't stand listening to someone else read my work out loud, but his voice is like, I mean, he's like the Morgan Freeman of the author world. Like, his voice is so like poetic sounding, and it just made everything I wrote sound 10 million times better than it actually was, and it was kind of a magical experience. So obviously this story is not utter garbage because it did win a contest. I do still really like the story. I read a little bit of this ahead of time because I wanted to make sure that I wasn't too like emotionally attached to not be able to critique it at all, and I don't think I am. I definitely found some flaws that I'm ready to talk about, but I do want to just start out by saying I do still really like this story. I think it's cute and sweet. It's a romantic love story and I enjoy it, but it also has some flaws. So let's talk about them. Oh my gosh, this is so cringy. I hate reading my stuff out loud. So, here we go. I feel like I just want to read it in like a silly way. Like I don't know. This is so awkward. Okay, let's move past it. Jason, I'm serious, I yelled, half laughing as I chased my best friend through the airport, wrestling him for my passport. My plane is boarding. He laughed. All right, if you want it, take it. He held the passport in his hand, raised far above his head. So that's a part right there I noticed when I was reading the first time, that I could have just said he held the passport far above his head or something, instead of saying he held the passport in his hand raised far above his head. Like, obviously the passport's in his hand. You don't really need that part. I folded my arms, putting on my serious face now. He laughed again. All right. His smile faded as he surrendered. Here. I looked up at him and knew that my face mirrored his gloomy expression. Hey, I started, trying to smile. It's only 1 month. Yeah, he agreed half-heartedly, looking down. I walked into his chest, wrapping my arms around his waist. He sighed. 1 month, he whispered. I'll miss you, Lily. Okay, that's the part that I always cringe at when I remember this story. It's sort of relevant because she needed like a cutesy little nickname for a part of this story, but Lily is like the weirdest. Like, it doesn't feel natural. I feel like, and I hate that when people write characters. Her name is Aaliyah, and I feel like it's really awkward when characters have little pet names for their friends that feel really forced, like the author just needed to come up with a pet name and that one matched their name, but it's like weird to say. Like, I don't know. To me, Lily just sounds like a weird, I don't know. It sounds silly to me, and maybe that's just me. Maybe people have, you know, call their friends Lily. It seems weird to me, but anyway, makes me cringe a little bit. And then, so this story has several parts where there's like kind of, you know, a break there. I forget what those are called, but it breaks into like chunks. So I don't know I don't know if I can really tell you what the chunks are broken down into, but I mean, it's clear, you know, that it's a new scene. It's almost like a new chapter, sort of, but just for a second because it's a short story. The moment I arrived at the hotel, I slid into the luxurious king-size bed in the center of the room. Although the clock in my suite read 11:15 a.m., my clock back home probably read about 2 a.m. My exhaustion was prevalent, so I drifted into a night of vivid Italian dreams. I think that was a pretty good little section. Because it's a short story, I will forgive my past self for giving like absolutely no build-up to this. Like, it just jumped right in there, which is something I've actually struggled with in writing novels, which is probably because I've written so many short stories, and in a short story, it's kind of fine, I think, to sort of just jump right in because the reader knows, like, it's short. You don't have a lot of time to cover everything. I don't need to explain, you know, who this guy is that she's talking to. It's clear that they're friends and he's sending her off on her plane, and now we know that she's in Italy because she's having vivid Italian dreams. But I didn't explain at all yet, I don't know if I will later, but why she's going to Italy, or even until then I hadn't even explained where she was going. But I think because it's a short story, it's fine, but if this were a novel, this would be a terrible way to start a novel. You want to have like a little bit more, I would say that first scene at the airport would be a fine way to start. Then the next part, instead of going into her arriving at the hotel, the next part should probably go into like some, you know, description of where she's going and why she's going there, and her relationship with this person who's sending her off at the airport. Just more, you know, we don't know anything about this character really, which was kind of a style choice, and it kind of still is a style choice of mine. I do tend to jump right in my stories, and I like to kind of develop characters over time and not just like tell you a bunch of stuff about them, which can be good, but I think I err on the side of doing that a little too much. But I did like the sentence that says, although the clock in my suite read 11:15 a.m., my clock back home probably read about 2 a.m. I think that's a fairly good way to sum up the fact that she's jet lagged and tired. It's pretty good. Good job, past me. The return trip to my hotel was every bit as beautiful as the rest of my day. I visited the Pon Rialto, I don't know if that's how you say that, I forgot to Google it so I didn't embarrass myself in this video. Went shopping in the local boutiques, that's definitely not how you say boutiques, I don't know why I said it like that. Went shopping in the local boutiques, had a cup of gelato at a cafe down the street, and rode a gondola back to the hotel. My plans of relaxation after my long day were foiled when I opened my door, revealing an envelope lying on a folded piece of scarlet fabric. As I looked closer, I discovered that the fabric was not the robe I had requested for maid service, but a knee-length silk dress. The envelope had my name on the front of it in beautiful penmanship. Once lying down on the bed, I opened the envelope carefully. Okay, that's a little teaser, I'll come back to this, but I have to say about the previous paragraph describing her day in Italy, like, it's kind of like, I mean, she's in freaking Italy and all we got of that was like, I went to some places and it was beautiful and now I'm back at the hotel. You know, it's like, we could have like actually seen a little more of her being in Italy because that's kind of the whole point Once lying down on the bed, I opened the envelope carefully. Aaliyah, go to the cafe down the street at 7 p.m. Wear the dress I have laid out for you and bring a single red rose. You can receive the flower from the gift shop in the hotel lobby. I look forward to seeing you. It was signed, oh gosh, I'm not even gonna, to Italiano Principe, which roughly translated means your Italian prince. I have no idea if I said that right. I'm not Italian. So, okay, before I comment, I'll read the next part because it does change, whatever, you'll see why. I sat in a daze trying to make a decision. If I went to the cafe, would I simply be letting my curiosity and love of a good mystery cloud my judgment? It was a potentially dangerous situation. That's classic telling right there and not showing. Like, you don't really need to say that. I mean, saying like she's trying to decide if she should go or not because she might be clouding her judgment kind of implies that she has hesitation because it could be dangerous. I don't really need to tell you it could be dangerous. On the other hand, if I did not go, I may regret the decision forever. A little bit dramatic there, Aaliyah, I think. And then the very next sentence, no other thought given. I made my choice. I slipped into the beautiful scarlet dress, received the red rose awaiting me in the gift shop, and walked to the cafe where my Italian prince would be waiting. Okay, so there are some really major flaws in that whole paragraph. First of all, this is creepy. Like, how... She just should have so many more questions than this. Like, how did some strange person get into my hotel room while I wasn't here? Who is this strange person? And why is he, like... I don't know, it's creepy. I mean, I can see why past me thought this was like cute and romantic, and especially given that as the author, I know who this person is because I wrote the story. I still know, I remember who the person is, and it's not that creepy if you know that. But at this point, she doesn't know that, and that is creepy. She's in a strange foreign country, and like someone broke into her hotel room and laid out like a dress for her to wear and is telling her where to go and calling himself her prince. It's just weird, and she should be a heck of a lot more skeptical and hesitant about this. I think if I were to rewrite this story now, I mean, I would change a whole lot, but I think definitely like the first time, I think maybe she should not go, like not follow the instructions, or she should definitely at least like, you know, go talk to the management, say like, hey, who was in my hotel room and how did they get in there? And, you know, I mean, she should just have a lot more concern than it was a potentially dangerous situation. You know, that's like the one line we have here of her being concerned. And then she just immediately does it anyway. So that's very flawed. This feeling was something I definitely was not used to. As I sat at a small table in the cafe, I had a slight feeling of nausea, and I finally understood the expression of butterflies. Jason was the only male in my life that I had ever felt this way about. So she has felt this way before, so it's kind of weird to say I mean, I guess it's fine to say she's not used to this feeling, which is what I said, but then she acted like she didn't, like she finally understood the expression, like she had never felt it before. And then she said, Jason was the only male in my life I've ever felt this way about before. So she has felt that feeling before, but whatever, glossing over. I had known Jason my entire life though, and I had been told by too many people what a mistake it would be to ruin a friendship as strong as ours by involving romance. I think that's a fine line, maybe a little bit too, what do you call it, expository, but it provides some background. So I had learned to ignore my feelings toward him. These feelings were different, stronger. Again, a little creepy and a little dramatic because, I mean, I guess you would have like nervous feelings, but it's almost like she's having feelings of like attraction or something to this person who all she knows about him is that he broke into her hotel room and made her wear this dress. Like, okay. You're problematic, Aaliyah. a little problematic. After waiting for about 10 minutes, a waiter approached me with an envelope in hand, and the butterflies took flight. I do really like that sentence a lot. I might even steal that sentence and use it in another story. I like the, I think that's a good example of showing. Instead of saying, I felt more excited when the waiter came over, to say the butterflies took flight. After just mentioning the feeling of butterflies in your stomach, I think that was pretty good. Good job, past me. A young man left this for you. He told me to give it to you as soon as he left. Did he tell you his name? I asked, hopeful. He hesitated. I'm not at liberty to say, he smiled. Have a nice night, miss. And now she's reading the note. Aaliyah, awaiting you on the bed in your suite is a purple dress for tomorrow and a plane ticket. Okay. You will not discover your destination until you arrive. When you land, a stewardess will give you further instruction. And then it says your Italian prince in Italian again, which I'm just gonna from now on say your Italian prince because I don't want to continue to butcher the Italian language throughout this whole story. So, okay, the guy told her to come downstairs to the cafe and like bring a rose, I guess. So I don't understand what the point of the rose was. I guess maybe he just wanted to give her a rose, but he couldn't do it himself, so he just like had, but to me, like when I read the rose part now, after like not really remembering what I wrote 10 years ago, I thought it was like an identification thing, you know, like when you're meeting a blind date and it's like, oh, I'll be carrying a single red rose. But he obviously knows who she is, so I don't really know what the point of that was. I guess it was just that he wanted to give her one, but why couldn't he just leave it with the dress then instead of making her get it from the gift shop or whatever? I don't know. But the thing that cracks me up the most about this is that he literally told her to go down to the cafe wearing that dress for no reason at all. Like, she got there and she got another note saying that there's a different dress waiting for her upstairs and a plane ticket. Like, why didn't he just leave that other dress and the plane ticket the first time? What was the point in having her go downstairs to the cafe? It doesn't make any sense. I left the cafe, thanking the waiter as I ran out the door. By the time I entered my room, I had a smile on my face that would not fade. Again, a little bit too immediately accepting of this rather creepy situation. I half skipped to my bed and my eye focused on a surprise. There was a pink tulip lying on top of the purple cotton dress. I set the flowers on the dresser, put the dress and the plane ticket in one of the drawers, and prepared for bed. The sooner I fell asleep, the sooner I could further embark on my journey to find my prince. It's cute. It's a cute idea. Like, I was 15, but there obviously are a lot of flaws. Like, clearly she came to she came to Italy for a reason. She probably has plans and things she wanted to do here. Like, it's a little bit strange to just drop everything to go on some destination, and we don't even... Yeah, it says you will not discover your destination until you arrive. First of all, that's not possible because she has a plane ticket. How it would say on there like where her destination is, and she'd have to know like which plane to get on, so she would definitely know where she's going. But secondly, like, that's again creepy and weird. Like, women, if you're listening to this, young girls reading this, please do not think that it's a good idea to go hop on a plane to an unknown destination that a stranger gave you after breaking into your hotel room. It's creepy. I woke up at 4 a.m. too anxious to sleep, so I decided to head to the airport. Tiptoeing out of the hotel and then bursting into a sprint, I made my way to the airport. My flight did not leave until 5:30 a.m., so I had a while to wait impatiently. So I have to say, this whole story definitely incorporates a flaw that I have still in my writing, which is that I love romance and I just want to focus on the romance the entire time. Like, that is one of my biggest struggles in writing a novel, is is all the parts that don't involve the main couple. If the main couple are not in the scene together being flirty, then you can bet that I probably had a hard time writing that scene, because I just want to get to all the juicy stuff. And this short story is only the juicy stuff. There's nothing else besides the little romantic, like, scavenger hunt kind of story, which is fine for a 15-year-old. Of course, I'm not like, you know, super digging into past me, like, oh, you suck at writing. But I mean, obviously, that's not what you want to do. "Excuse me, miss," a stewardess said. "Are you Aaliyah Rose?" I sat up straight in my seat, excited. "Yes," I replied. She smiled. "I thought so," she said, reaching into her pocket. "A man left this for you. He told me I was to give it to you just before we land." Okay, so she's on the plane now. She handed me the letter as the pilot prepared for landing. "Aaliyah, welcome to Rome, mi amor." It's creepy. It's past me. Like I said, I know who this guy is, and it's not creepy, but it sounds creepy. "Make your way to the Trevi Fountain. There will be a man waiting there holding a white daisy. He will give you more information. Your Italian prince." The man with the daisy, see, okay, we're already just skipping over. We don't get to hear any of her feelings about this third note or any of her, like, excitement of seeing Rome. It's just straight to, "The man with the daisy gave me directions to my hotel in Rome and to the airport. I had a flight leaving in the morning." Okay, I clearly did not think of the timeline of this well, because, okay, it says, "and he said I was to use this day to explore Rome." So wherever she is, she got on a flight to Rome, and that presumably took some time. How much time, I don't know. Would it be feasible that she would get to the fountain and meet this guy and still have an entire day to explore Rome before her flight in the morning, or is that silly? Come to think of it, I actually might have done some research on that. In fact, I probably did, because earlier in the story I mentioned, like, when she got to Italy, I said that the clock read 11:15, but it was probably 2 a.m. where she's from, so I probably actually did research that. I've always been fairly good at research. That was actually one of the compliments the author Charlie Price gave me on my story, was that he liked all the details and the like, accurate research on things like that. So I probably did research that. I will give myself some credit. Over the next few weeks, my prince sent me to over 20 Italian landmarks, all with a different flower waiting for me. That's kind of cute. But again, like, we didn't get to see any of it happen. It's just told to us that that's what happened. It was my last day in Venice, and I had everything ready for my flight home. Part of me could not help but wonder if I would ever discover the true identity of my prince, but I had to get my rest. I put my worries aside for the night and drifted to sleep. My alarm sounded at 5 a.m. and I brought my bags downstairs. I walked back up to my room to take one last look before before I left my fairy tale behind. Stepping through the doorway, I was disappointed to see that there was nothing but carpet beneath me. Was I going to hear from him one last time? See, that was a weird sentence to me. There was nothing but carpet beneath me. I mean, I get, because I remember writing this, that she means that there was no, like, note waiting for her, but up until this point, we had never heard of him, like, sliding a note under her door. It was always left on her bed. So the carpet thing just kind of threw me off a little bit. If I hadn't already, like, I remember writing that line, actually, and if I hadn't already been in that mindset, I might have been a little confused. Was I going to hear from him one last time? Maybe this was simply an unforgettable memory of... gosh, I can't speak today. Maybe this was simply an unforgettable memory, a mystery never to be solved. My flight would leave soon, so I took a long moment of silence, then closed the door to my fairy tale's castle. The flight back to California was full of anxiety. I did not want to believe that I would never know who my Italian prince was, and what his motivation was in writing to me. But whoever my prince was not important. What was important was that I had an intriguing, mysterious month, and now I would return home with no regrets. Okay. I strode through the runway doors and saw Jason. His face lit up with his typical smile as I ran into his embrace. Gee, I wonder who her prince might be, because either we never get to find out, or it's probably the only other character ever mentioned in the story, is more likely, I would say. I mean, not to spoil anything for you, but that's just, I'm kind of leaning that direction. Hey, he exclaimed, squeezing me gently. How was your flight? Tiring, I sighed. How was your month without me? I asked, smiling teasingly. Boring. He paused awkwardly. Hey, one of the flight attendants told me there's something waiting for you in the gift shop. Oh? I replied, confused. Come on, Jason said, tugging me along. It's super mysterious here, guys. I wonder what it's gonna be, and I wonder who her prince is gonna be. I was a bit confused by his enthusiasm. Okay. When we reached the... I can't stop laughing at how cheesy this is, because this is the last page, and it's so anticlimactic. Okay, when we reached the gift shop, I froze in front of the counter. There in front of me was a bouquet of flowers, all of the flowers from my trip, and a letter. I'm assuming she doesn't mean literally the same flowers, because that would be, like, impossible. I don't know what she did with the flowers, but I think that would be impossible. I'm assuming she means the same type of flowers, because at each place there was a different flower waiting for her. That's kind of cute. I'll give it that. It's kind of cute. I walked hesitantly toward the letter and opened it, forgetting everything else. Aaliyah, ever since we were little, Okay. Ever since, I'm just gonna laugh through it, I'm sorry. Ever since we were little, you dreamed of finding your Prince Charming in Italy. I wanted you to have your dream, but I never wanted you to be with anyone but me. So I sent you on this trip. That sounds weird. I mean, he didn't send her on the trip, or at least we didn't know that. I mean, she went to Italy on her own. I don't know. I know it seems like a waste of money, but I know it seems like a waste of money when I could have just told you how I feel, but your happiness is priceless to me. I hope you return my interest, but even if you don't, my reward was seeing the gleam in your eyes every time you read one of my letters. I love you, Lily. I always have, always will. Your Italian prince. So that's not quite the end, but the mystery has been uncovered. We know who the Italian prince was now. It's obviously very, very much of a stretch. And I think as much as it's like a really cute, like romantic fantasy, if anyone actually did this in real life, I think I can't really see a way that this would not be creepy, even though it's like her best friend and she's loved him for a long time and he's loved her for a long time. Like, it's still just weird. It's still like, that is a really, really huge gesture that only works in a story like this. It's just not realistic, and it's I don't know. I do like, though, that I made him very much not a nice guy in quotes, by saying, I hope you return my interest, but even if you don't, my reward was seeing the gleam in your eyes every time you read one of my letters. I think that's a nice, he sounds like an actual nice guy, like he cares about her and he did something special to show his interest, but he's willing to accept if she's not interested in return, and he's not gonna be like, oh, well, I did this special thing for you, so now you should date me, and if you don't, then you're the worst. So that's good. I mean, good for you, Jason. My eyes filled with tears. I dropped the letter, turning to look at my prince. I walked towards his anxious face, putting my hand on his cheek, and kissed him. I always knew you'd be my prince, I said as we pulled away. At that moment, I discovered what my fairy tale really was. It wasn't Italy. It wasn't the mystery of my phantom prince. It was my best friend. It was the man I would spend the rest of my life with. Jason was my fairy tale and I was his forever. That's really cute. That's a cute ending. However, that sounds like a proposal, which is not what happened. He didn't propose to her. So she's just presuming that they're gonna be together forever. But I mean, it's her fantasy. That's what she thinks will happen. So that's fair, I guess. But I think that's sweet. Like she realized that her real, like the important thing, the thing that really is special to her and feels like a fairy tale isn't this like mystery and this mysterious man. It's her best friend, and that's really cute. Also, it kills me that I just said I put my hand on his cheek and kissed him. Like, where's the description past me? That's so boring. You don't get any emotion or feeling. It's just like, oh, they kissed. Like, yeah, it's not very good writing in that sense at all. It's a whole lot of telling, not enough showing, not enough description and like delving deep into the story. I don't think I would ever write this story again or try to make it into like a novel or something, because the whole concept it's just way too far-fetched. But for like a sweet fantasy, it's not a terrible story other than the fact that it's very far-fetched. But if you're okay with it being cheesy, I mean, it could make like maybe an interesting Hallmark movie or something, but there's so much more that could have been explored. Like, you know, she's talking, like she's saying that I discovered what my fairy tale really was. It wasn't Italy. It wasn't the mystery of my phantom prince. It was my best friend. That would be a more powerful line if if the story had gone more in depth into her feelings when she got the letters. If she was getting really, really caught up in like the mystery of it and like, ooh, this Italian prince, and maybe she was even starting to like forget about her feelings for Jason, or like start to think like, well, Jason's kind of boring, or I don't know, like, forget him, I have my Italian prince now, and this guy's more exciting. And, you know, if we had seen more from her narration, I think I definitely did not go into the narration nearly enough, and we just didn't get any of Aaliyah's feelings at all through this whole thing, other than the butterflies in her stomach that one time. That's about it. So I think it could have been a much better, for what it is. I mean, I'm never gonna rewrite this, but for what it is, I think it could have been a lot better if I had gone more in depth into her feelings and kind of made her start to get too wrapped up in the idea of this mystery man, and then at the end when she realizes like, oh, that was silly of me, like this man in front of me who I've loved for years and we've been best friends for years, that's who's important, and this is what my fairy tale really is. I think that's sort of suggested by the fact that, you know, he says in his last letter, ever since we were little, you dreamed of finding your Prince Charming in Italy. That could have been cool to explore if I had written in the beginning, like, that the reason she was going to Italy, which now that I think about it, I'm pretty sure I actually knew this in my head. I'm pretty sure this was the idea, but I didn't make it clear in the story at all, that the reason she was going to Italy was to find adventure and possibly love, because she was very focused on, like, you know, these romances, epic fairy tales. And so Jason wanted to kind of give her what she was looking for, even if it was a little like superficial and shallow, but he wanted to be with her too. So he wasn't hoping that she would find that in Italy, because then it would take her away from him. So he gave it to her in his own way so that they could still be together, but she could still have her little adventure too. which is cute. But again, I just didn't explain enough of that at all. Yeah, that is the end of Finding My Fairy Tale. So that's it. I don't know how to end this video, but thank you guys for watching. And if you liked this is kind of like, this was a very short story, so of course it's going to be different moving forward with the read-alongs, but this is kind of the style of video I'm going to be doing in the next month or so if it works out. I'm going to choose a book that I think will probably be sort of mid-level between bad and good, and I'm going to read through it. I'm not going to read the actual words of the book like I did with my story, because that would be wrong, I think, because, you know, you shouldn't read someone else's work, like the whole thing on camera like that. But I'm going to read through a novel and critique it and give my thoughts on what could be better, how to improve it. And if you haven't seen my previous video on this subject, which I think was my video about my 2019 goals, I talked about this. The reason I want to do this is, number one, because Julian Greystoke, who's an awesome YouTuber, I watched her videos. She did a read-along series on The Savior's Champion by Jenna Moreci, and now she's doing a read-along of a book called The Cellar. And I really liked watching those videos because it was really informative to me to hear someone critiquing a book and saying exactly like what the line is, where it is in the story, why it doesn't work, why this section of the story doesn't work, or this character isn't likable, and how you could improve that, what the author could have done to make it better. To me, it's not about like criticizing other authors or being like a negative Nelly. It's about learning from other people's maybe mistakes or things that don't come across as well as they probably had hoped they would, and using that to further my own writing and just learn and grow as a writer. So that's what I'm going to be doing next month, and this was just a little taste and something fun. I do have another short story of mine. I think it's longer than this one, and I don't remember it at all. So I am considering maybe doing a read-along of that story at some point as well. So if you'd like to see that, comment down below and let me know if that would be something you guys would like to see, and I will do it. So anyway, thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more from me in the future, including my next series of read-alongs, hopefully of Jenny Han's second book in the To All the Boys I Loved Before series, if my library has it, hit the subscribe button so you can be alerted as soon as I upload a new video. And that's it. I'll see y'all next time, and have a great day. Bye.